Yes, Professor Geraci. Well, as we know, Italy is actually the very first G7 country to embrace China's Belt and Road Initiative. And I know you actually play a very, very important role in that process. And now with the new changes and also the challenges brought by this pandemic. So what kind of new impact do you think the pandemic will bring to this initiative cooperation between the two countries?
Thank you. I'll tell you, the signing of the Belt and Road, in my personal view, was one of the best things we could have done at the time to help companies. And the feedback that we received from companies has indeed been very positive. Very few have, if any, have complained. It was, yes, the first G7 country to sign, and this was, in a way, a milestone, but it is an initiative that I believe, because I've seen how China has built its own development success over the last 10, 20 years, which has been based on many pillars. The relevant ones are migration, rural to urban, development of infrastructure to allow these people to travel, and development of infrastructure to allow the migrant to arrive in the urban areas and work. Now, this model is being duplicated also in Asia, in Africa, and with the different and local differences, infrastructure, transport. This is what Central Asia and Africa needs. On top of that, we could build manufacturing. And you see, Jim, these are all sectors that, infrastructure, ports, they can do relatively well even in the virus area, because it's not office building where you have air conditioning. You work outside in areas that are not very highly densely populated. So in a way, I think the shift of the economies into something which is relatively safer from the health point of view. The struggle that China also has domestically, and therefore needs to push more for the Silk Road, for the Belt and Road, the manufacturing hunger that these countries have to take on part of Chinese production in manufacturing, while China moves up the value chain. And if you wish, also an ethical reason to help, developing countries in Africa to finally have a chance, stabilize it, which is also very good for Europe, because this is the only way to also stem migration, which is another problem, a social problem. So the Belt and Road now should be really given a stronger push. As we say, it would be a waste if there was a crisis without an opportunity. And it would be a big loss for Italian companies that are very strong in these areas: energy, infrastructure, construction. So more of the Belt and Road, especially in third countries.
Well, thank you, Michele Geraci. Let me just ask another question to John Gong, which is connected with this, because One Belt, One Road is a great global project. Now, we know that since the outbreak started, globalization has been badly hit, and there was a drop in international trade. There's a deglobalization underway. How can the Chinese economy model adapt to this? And what's the take for the Italian companies, the Italian businesses that are listening today to understand how to adapt their strategies for the future?
Well, certainly the Belt and Road Initiative, the current projects in this program are facing difficulties, and we have to honestly face that. And that has to do with the economic slowdown in the developing world. We all understand that this year it's going to be very difficult. Most parts of the world will see a negative economic growth, and that will inevitably impact many countries' ability to service these loans from China. I mean, altogether we have about 2,000 loans associated with the Belt and Road Initiative. So I think this is a fact we have to take a very hard look at. But I don't think that China is going to make a strategic change. I think the overall direction of the Belt and Road Initiative is still very sound. It's just that we are having a very difficult time right now. We are heading into economic headwinds. I think moving forward, I think from China's perspective, we need to look at the areas and countries where there are more a higher likelihood of these loans not being defaulted. We're already starting to see some politicians in some countries, in Africa, for example, that they're talking about China's to write off these loans. It doesn't mean that China hasn't done that before. It can't do that for that reason, for that matter. But I think overall, we still have to keep in mind that these projects are not philanthropy. I mean, these are commercial projects, intended to lift the overall infrastructure level in these countries. At the same time, hopefully, creating some more manufacturing jobs in these countries. So I think, moving forward, we need to evaluate these programs, these projects, these loans, and focus on countries and focus on areas where we see more promising returns. At least we want to see decent returns. And I think this problem is particularly dire in the context of dollar getting strong. And we have to keep in mind that these loans are made in dollar terms, whereas the proceeds from these loans, from these projects, are mostly in local currencies. And most of the local currencies around the world right now are seeing depreciation vis-a-vis the US dollar. So you would imagine, the difficult situation here. But again, I want to emphasize that the program is overall in the right direction. China has continued to go down that path of extending cooperation with many countries around the world, including Italy in Europe, to further improve the infrastructures in many of our partner countries, so as to facilitate trade and other exchanges, including people-to-people level exchanges across nations.